All right. Shelley, can you see the recording
Yeah.
indicator up there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I can't see it on my end. All right. Well, it's right at 11 o'clock, and we definitely want to give Shelley enough time to present and take questions. And so I'll quickly introduce myself. My name is Laura Smith. I'm Assistant Director of Alumni Engagement here in the Division of Philanthropy and Alumni Engagement at WKU. And part of my job is to provide career opportunities and professional development opportunities. And we want to thank Shelley Trent, who is a WKU grad, two-time, might I add, uh, and thank her for coming today. She is a career coach and has extensive experience in human resources and hiring practices. And so rather than listen to me, I'm going to turn it over to Shelley. I'm going to stop my screen share. Just to let everybody know, there will be time for Q&A at the end. So live Q&A. You can pop on and ask the question. I think that's kind of what Shelley prefers. But if you prefer to put things in the chat, I will monitor that as we go as well. So Shelley, I'm going to stop my screen share and turn it on over to you.
Okay. Okay, can you see that okay?
Yep.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. I'm really excited to be with you today. Like she said, I'm a Western grad, go Tops. I love that I get to give back to my Western alum, and so happy that they've invited me to present today on how to use LinkedIn for your job search and being more out there and visible to people. And so I'm going to start off, I've kind of made a top 10 list. And I was just saying to her that usually when I do this presentation, I hear from people, wow, I've never heard that tip before. So hopefully that's the case for you and it's new information. So the first one I'm going to share is to have a professional photograph. From my background in recruiting, you might think, well, I don't want them to know what I look like. That's giving them a bias, but it really does make a difference when the recruiter checks your page that it's complete, and being complete also includes a professional photograph. It's not that expensive to get a professional photograph, or even if you know someone who can take a picture of you in a more professional setting or even against a blank wall. You don't want to have a selfie. You don't want to have something. I see so many of them that are taken in the car, or they're a face that's cut out of another picture with other people, or like this one over here on the left where it's like at a wedding. It's like, yeah, you're dressed up and you look nice, but that's not a professional photograph. So you want to have something that looks like it's a professional picture, like here on the right hand side where I have yes. Those two pictures would be appropriate. You want to be in professional attire, business dress or at least business casual, not in a hoodie, not in something really, a casual shirt or above the neckline. You want to have good lighting. You don't want it to be dark. Over here on the nose side, the bottom photograph, it's kind of fuzzy. It's not very good lighting. You want it to be within the last couple of years. You don't want to have somebody see your photograph and you don't look like that at all anymore. I was just sharing with Laura, during COVID, I let my hair go gray. So I need a new photograph now because it doesn't look blonde anymore. It looks kind of white. So I have actually reached out this week to somebody to do a new photograph. And again, you don't want it to be sort of a dating photo or a wedding photo or anything where you have people and you can see faces on either side of you. You want it to be completely just a picture of you. The second one I would share with you is to have some sort of a headline summary. You don't want it to be, my objective is to blah, blah, blah. You want it to be sort of hit those highlights, hit the keywords. So it should be something like human resources professional with 10 years of experience. And then you can go on to describe that experience, or something like operations manager with project management and strategic planning expertise, content marketing, editing, publishing, social media. You want those words in the headline section to be what you want the employer who might be looking at your headline or your profile to see what it is that you offer, see what it is that you're an expert in. Another good example might be experienced healthcare CEO with MSN and MPH, and that stands for Master of Science in Nursing and Master of Public Health. A bad example would be seeking new opportunity. That doesn't tell me as the reader really what you're about, who you are. You want it to be what you can do for the reader. Something also that might say something like CPA with over 30 years of experience. Well, that tells me as a reader that you're over 50. And although I might not think that's bad, if you're not aware of HR law, that's a protected class. Over 40 is a protected class. So you don't want to give away any information that could bias the reader. When you're writing your headline summary, excuse me, think about what's your purpose, what drives you, what excites you, why do you do what you do, and what problems can you solve? So the headline summary can be the headline and then some extra information if you want to share it, but it really is a headline. It's something to grab the reader's attention. You also want your LinkedIn profile to match your resume. I see so many LinkedIn profiles that just have a job title and a job location, but you really want it to be, you know, everything that you've done for at least the last 10 years. Recruiters are going to compare, if you've applied for a job, they're going to compare your LinkedIn page with your resume, and they should match. But the LinkedIn page can even give more information, because if you're trying to keep your resume to 1 to 2 pages, you might not be able to really highlight other things that you've done that you can put on your LinkedIn page. Like for me, mine's completely filled out, and I even have coursework I've taken. I've got all the articles I've published. I've got all the volunteer activities I've done. So your LinkedIn page is more than a resume, but it at least should be what you have on your resume. If I, as a recruiter, am checking your LinkedIn page, maybe usually what happens is if I take in a bunch of resumes and we've had a job posting, I'll narrow it down to like my top 10 people that I'm really looking at carefully. Those are the people I'm going to check their LinkedIn page. And especially if they're like in the final 3, you know, I know I'm going to bring them in for an interview, or maybe they're here for a second interview. But I'm going to look at their LinkedIn page because I want to see if there are any discrepancies. And by that, I mean, maybe the resume shows there are no gaps in employment, but on the LinkedIn page, there's a 2-year gap in employment. That's going to raise a red flag for me. You know, is this person covering that up for a reason? Is this somebody who is, you know, trying to lie on their resume? You want to make it at least what you have on your resume and then beyond. Again, you can have your publications, your volunteer work, certifications, certificates, your memberships, boards you're on, things like that. So you want to, your LinkedIn page is really something that you can share beyond what's on your resume. But you don't want to list all the way back to your very first job, because again, that shows your age usually. I would also leave off dates of your education. So you don't need to put, like, I graduated in 87 with my bachelor's. So anybody doing the math could figure out I'm over 50, and they don't need to know that. So, you know, go back at least the last 10 years, maybe 15 years, especially if you have experience from earlier that you want to showcase. Maybe, for instance, I know someone who had a career in HR, had a degree in HR, but then he took a job that wasn't in HR, but he wanted to go back further on his resume and his LinkedIn page because he wanted to showcase more of his HR experience. And that's totally fine, as long as you don't mind them kind of guessing how old you are. But as long as you don't go all the way back to your jobs right after school, you should be okay. You just don't want to give them a reason to have bias against you. I wanted to also show you, this is the 4th tip, how to customize your LinkedIn URL. So for me, mine is here at the bottom of the page. It's linkedin.com/in/Shelly Trent. There should not be a space between Shelly and Trent. I'm sorry about that typo. But some people have LinkedIn addresses like this one, first name, last name, and then a bunch of letters and symbols. And you don't want it to be like that. You want it to be a clean, your name. This is your advertisement, because LinkedIn really is your online advertisement about yourself. So I've given you this little screenshot of how to fix that. So you go to your profile, it'll say me at the top of the page, and you say view profile. And then you can edit your URL and you can put in there what you want it to say. So for me, I have a second LinkedIn page I just started called Your Career Collaborator, because that's my side business. And so my LinkedIn page for that would be LinkedIn/in/Your Career Collaborator. So that would be sort of a marketing tool for me. And it's not, I don't have to put on my business card all of those letters and numbers that might be part of the whatever LinkedIn makes up for you. So you want it to be something simple like your name. And then you click save and you have your specialized URL. The fifth one, you want to have at least 300 connections. I would say is the more the better. And you might say, well, I don't want to connect with people who I don't really know. Well, that's kind of what LinkedIn's about. It's connecting with people who are in your industry, people who went to Western, people who you know, people you don't know. What I always do is if I see somebody who has, you know, over 50 connections in common with me, and we know that many people the same, I feel pretty comfortable connecting with them. And, you know, you can write a note, you know, I saw you went to Western, I'm a Western grad, I'd like to connect with you. Most people say, sure, because I will tell you that in my field, and I have over 5,700 connections or about that many, in my field, you know, it's who you know, it's who you're connected to. And if you're using LinkedIn to get a job, you definitely want to have as many connections as you can. You want to be visible to other people. If I get somebody's resume, I look them up and I see how many connections they have. If they have, you know, 20 connections or 50 connections, I think, you know, they're not networked well. And why would I care about that as an employer? Well, you know, when you take the job, or if you are looking for a job, if you have questions, and maybe your boss is not an expert, and I'm just going to use HR as an example because that's my background. Let's say I take an HR job. My boss doesn't really know HR. Maybe that's the operations director or the CFO, which is pretty common. Well, I need a network of people I can call or email or meet for lunch or whatever who are experts in HR that I can ask questions of. I need people I can get to help me in certain situations. And if you don't have those connections and you're not networked well, that can be a problem for your employer. I mean, maybe you thought, well, that's not really important, but it really is. You know, so if I see a LinkedIn page that's not well done, it's not complete, you have no connections, it looks like you haven't been on there in 2 years, I'm going to say, nah, even if you might have qualifications, that's going to be kind of a problem, because I want you to be connected. I want you to be networked with people in your field. I want you to help me as the business person or the business owner or the CEO or whatever it may be. I want you to be connected. I want your name and my company name out in the community. So I hope that makes sense. So the purpose of LinkedIn is, you know, it's free marketing. It's free reaching your name out to the world. It's connecting with people. And, you know, being the purpose of LinkedIn, most people don't say, oh, I have to know this person to connect. They connect. So if you're wanting to grow your connections, look for people who have lion in their, usually it's in, like if I were a lion, I'd say Shelley Trent Lion, and then other things. Lion means LinkedIn Open Networker, which means they'll connect with anyone. They want as many connections as they can. They want a big network. They typically, people use their LinkedIn connections to help other people. And I will give you an example of how I do that. If someone reaches out to me, because I'm a career coach, and because I used to work for the National Society for Human Resource Management, and I've been in HR most of my career, I have a lot of connections in human resources. What does human resources do? They hire people. So when someone contacts me and says, I see that you're connected with because I live in the Louisville area, I'll just use Humana as an example. I see you're connected with 6 people at Humana. Could you put in a good word for me because I've just applied for this position there? Well, of course I'll do that. You know, if I know this person who's coming to me, I'll say, so-and-so just applied. I'll send a LinkedIn message to my friends at Humana. So-and-so just applied for this position. I know this person personally. Or, you know, if I talk to them on the phone and they tell me all about themselves, even if I don't know them well, if they have a lot of connections in common with me and I respect those connections, I'm going to be okay to help them. And so that's kind of how LinkedIn is used. And I will also share, and I think I have another slide on this, maybe I might be getting ahead of myself, but recruiters use LinkedIn. Well, LinkedIn, most of LinkedIn's income comes from recruiters. They pay a fee to find people on LinkedIn. And my husband used to be a technical recruiter with things like nursing, IT, things like that. He never posted jobs, ever. He paid the fee for LinkedIn. He put in the parameters of what he was looking for. He contacted people directly to ask them, do you want to interview with me for this position? But he never posted a job. And that's how a lot of recruiters are doing. Posting a job takes a lot of time. You have to leave it out there for, you know, weeks at a time, take in a lot of resumes, review the resumes, or send them through your applicant tracking system. It's just a big task. But if I use LinkedIn and I find people I want to interview, it's a quick process. So a lot of recruiters are going this route. So you really want to have, you know, as many connections as you can in your field specifically, or with companies you're interested in working for. But again, you can look for people in your job function, from your college, from your city. If you're a member of any associations, you can look for people who are members of that association, who have the same certifications as you. And especially look for people who hire people like you. HR people hire. So, you know, those are the folks you want to connect with. And typically every day when you log into your LinkedIn profile, it will say, you know, here are people you may know. I know for me, every day it starts out with all the people who were alums from Western, people who are HR in Louisville, Kentucky. So it tells you who you would probably be a good match with as far as connections, because you have people in common, you have something in common, like where you graduated. And so that helps you make connections. And don't feel shy. But what I would do is send a note. It'll say, you know, you'll have a button that says connect. And you have the option to either just connect with them with no note or to add a note. I would say add a note. And it doesn't have to be long. It can just be, you know, I saw that you were a Western alum and I'd love to connect, period. And usually people do connect. So don't be shy to connect with people you don't know. And the other thing I will say, and I sort of started off with this, but recruiters are turned off by people who don't have a lot of connections or who don't use their profile frequently enough, because again, it's a marketing tool for you. This might sound, I don't know, a little bit negative, but I'm going to say it because this is what I tell everybody I coach. I tell my students this. Your resume is basically an advertisement for you as a product, for someone to buy you as a product. They're paying you for doing a job. So you are a product to be purchased. And that's how you have to look at your resume and your LinkedIn profile. So connections equal credibility. The more connections you have, the more you use your profile, the more you keep it updated, means you are a credible person for them to look at as a possible employee. The 6th tip, let me check my time here. You want to have at least 3 recommendations. More is better. Employers typically ask for references. And if you have references on or recommendations on your LinkedIn profile of people saying, I used to work with this person and he or she was a fabulous employee, whatever it is, this is a way for you to provide those references before you even interview, before they even decide if they want to talk to you. They can read your recommendations on LinkedIn. You want to consider having your LinkedIn references or recommendations from people who worked with you, or you were their direct report, like a former supervisor, somebody who knows what it's like to work with you. And, you know, it's not like, it's not like you have to ask them to write you a letter of reference, because that takes a while. And that's kind of a lot of trouble to ask somebody to do a whole letter. But this can just be a paragraph. It can be 3 or 4 sentences, and that's enough. So it's not really that difficult. What I say is give and you shall receive. So what I did, I actually, when I left my last job, I went in and I wrote recommendations for like 30, 40 people. I looked through my LinkedIn connections and thought, who do I know well enough so that I can write them a reference or a recommendation on LinkedIn? And again, just a paragraph. It didn't take me that long, but I wrote honest comments about these people. And they didn't ask me to, I just did it. And so for the 40 or so references I wrote, I got back about 20. Not everybody wrote me one, and that was okay. But if you write one first without being asked, they'll probably be like, oh my gosh, this was great, thank you, especially if they don't have very many recommendations, and they'll write one for you. You can say, well, you know, I'm glad you liked it. Would you write one back? And if somebody writes one for you, you should write one for them. It's always nice to be, you know, reciprocated for something that you've worked on. So again, don't stop at 3. I think I have, I don't know, 20. And I'm not saying that to brag. I'm just saying that if anybody comes to my page and they want to know about me and what I'm like to work with, they have plenty of options of people who've made comments about that. And I try to get a few new ones every few years, because if you're applying for a job, you don't want to have recommendations on there from 10 years ago and nothing recent. So every few years, you want to get at least a couple of new ones. The next one, and this one's sort of controversial, I would say. The 7th one is whether you want to use the open to work ring around your profile photograph on LinkedIn. If you want to add this, you would click on the Add New Profile section button at the right side of your profile picture, and then click on Looking for a New Job in the introduction section. So I wrote a lot on this slide so that you can download it and know the instructions. You can share your open to work status by either clicking Share with Recruiters Only. So this would mean only people who are looking through that recruiter lens. That's a paid feature. So not everybody on the web would know that it said open to work. Only recruiters would know this. Or you can share it with everyone on LinkedIn. That's your choice. You can list job titles that you're looking for in cities where you'll work. That gives those recruiters who are using the back-end function the opportunity to see you're willing to go anywhere, or you really want to move to Atlanta, or you want to move to New York. And so if you choose all LinkedIn members, that's when LinkedIn puts that graphic around your picture. But if you have a full-time job and you don't want your boss to see that you're looking for a job, I wouldn't do that. That's sort of something that's only if you are really open for everyone to see that open to work loop around your photograph. And so you should consider whether you really want this, because again, some people are like, I don't want everyone to know I'm looking for work. So again, make that choice and figure out whether you want to use the open to work ring around your photograph. It's better to contact people who you have targeted directly. So if you go in through your personal network, your friends, former coworkers, college friends, your friends of your parents, whatever it may be, people you have in close connection, you want to tell them you're looking for a job. You want to give them your resume. You want to tell them what you're looking for exactly, or where you want to live. Meet people on Zoom, or if you're willing to go out for coffee. So you want to connect with the people closest to you who really know you and let them know that you're looking for work if you don't want to do the open to work. But that's always the best way to do it. The 8th one is profile optimization. You might have heard of search engine optimization. And just like in your resume, your LinkedIn profile should contain the keywords of what it is you're looking for or the job you want. You need to appear in the searches of the recruiters, and that's how you do it. You're going to have a fully completed profile. That's the first thing. Excuse me. You want to upload work samples if you can. Like for me, because I'm a public speaker, I have links to recordings of my programs so people can see, I guess, the product that they're going to purchase, if you will. So another thing that's really important is to join groups. There are, who knows, 100,000 or something groups on LinkedIn. You want to look for groups that are in your profession, of course, Western alumni, groups of other things you might be interested in, areas of expertise that you have, people who you follow, things like that. So you want to join groups. You want to post comments, articles, news. You want to interact with people. So for me, and I haven't been really great about this recently, but what I try to do is I have a Google search set up so that every night Google sends me links to all the articles or posts that were with the words I chose. So like for me, I have career coach as one of them. And so every night I get a list of Google links for career coach. So it's news about career coaching. I can choose to, if I think one of those articles is good for my LinkedIn page, something I want to share, I share it. I don't have to come up necessarily with my own content or write articles. I can share news that I think is worthwhile with people who follow me. So that's a really easy way for you to find out what's going on in your career field and post it for people. It's a way for you to interact. It's a way for you to get noticed. It's a way for you to show that you're keeping up with the latest news in the field. So, don't just fill out your LinkedIn page and kind of leave it. Post things, like things, comment on things. The ninth one. This is probably, of all of them, my biggest frustration. Be easy to contact. A lot of people fill in their LinkedIn profile and they don't put their phone number, they don't put their email address. And you might say, well, why would I want to make that public? Well, if you're looking for a job, you definitely want to be easy to find. So be sure that your profile has your phone number, not your work number, because if you're looking for a job, you don't want them to call you at the office. So a cell phone number, home phone number, whatever it may be, and your personal email address that you check often. Because if a recruiter finds you and you don't have that information, they can't contact you, basically. And you want to keep your site up to date. So again, because I'll tell you, this happens to me a lot. I'll be, not necessarily for hiring something, but somebody I want to ask a question of. I want to ask them to be a speaker for one of my programs. I want them to be on a panel of experts. And I'll go to their LinkedIn page, and the email address they have on there is from 10 years ago. They've never updated it, or their current job listing is from someplace they don't work anymore. That's frustrating, because LinkedIn is for connecting with other people. And if I can't connect with you, what's the point of having a page, right? So you, again, want to have your phone number and your email address open to the public, or at least open to people who are connected with you. If you're not comfortable with having it out in the open. For me, I have it out in the open. I want people to be able to connect with me, and vice versa. So it's something to consider. Also, if you have handles for Instagram or Twitter or whatever, you can put that on your LinkedIn website as well. The 10th one, and I know we're early, but I'll probably keep talking a little bit more. The 10th one is having skills and endorsements. You might notice that it will say, underneath the person's profile, it will say, something about your skills or whatever, and it will have a list of the things that you have been recommended for or endorsed for, sorry. So these are skill endorsements. And so you want to find the top skills that you have and click. It'll give you a list, and you're allowed to click, 50 or something. But you click on all the skills you want to highlight in your profile. then people can endorse you for those skills. The idea is that for all the ones you have 99 recommendation or endorsements for, those show up higher in a search. So like for me, and I don't have all of them on here, this is just like a little screenshot of some of them. So I have 99 for training, I have 99 for employee relations, I had 99 for 3 or 4 other things that I couldn't get on a screenshot. But so you can see that those are the words that will show up for whatever somebody might be searching for. So if they're searching for someone with employee relations, my name will probably appear because I have 99 or more endorsements. So ask people to endorse you for the things that you feel you're an expert for. And maybe my mistake was that I listed too many endorsement topics, skills, because I did this many, many years ago. So, and this was a brand new feature back then. So maybe I only wanted to pick the top 10 or the top 5, and then it would be easier for me to get more endorsements. So think about that. You know, I have all of these words out there so people can see what I feel that are my skills, but you know, maybe I should have been a little bit more picky about the ones if I had known how it was going to work, because back then, again, it was a new feature and I really didn't know how it was going to work. I didn't know that this was how they were going to use it. So if you endorse people, you can ask for endorsements in return. So I know we're kind of early. I talk fast, I know, but I wanted to leave plenty of time for questions. And I could talk about LinkedIn, a lot more tips, but those were the top 10 I thought were the most important to share with you. If you have questions that you're too shy to ask, or you don't want to be on camera or whatever it might be, my email address is shellytrent@live.com. You can go ahead and write that down, and then I'll unshare my screen and we can have discussion. Okay, I'm going to stop my share. There we go.
Thank you. Wow, I learned a ton.
Well, good.
That's just not out there, for folks. Anybody have questions? Go ahead and jump in. I'm going to mute, and I have a couple of myself. So you all just go ahead.
I have a question. I'm Jean Snavely, and I teach a class called Career Readiness in Finance here at Western. And that was why I joined this webinar today, because I thought I might have some useful tips for my students in that class. So when you post the link for this tomorrow, would it be all right for me to share that with my students?
It's totally fine with me.
100%. And that is one of the things, thank you for, as a faculty member, joining us, because this is one of the things that we want our students to get accustomed to, is to coming to our webinars or accessing them through the Alumni Learning Consortium website, because they will be archived there forever. So that's one thing that we truly want our students to take advantage of. So thank you for your willingness to share that.
Well, and another thing, I do programs like this all the time, and I have over 30 recorded webinars just like this for students about career topics. And I'm happy to send you links to all that if you're interested.
Yes,
email me. I'm happy to share that with anyone.
Then a follow-up, since we're talking about LinkedIn, would it be okay for me to share that link on LinkedIn for today? So yeah, as a post.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
happy to help everybody.
You'll, in the WKU Alumni Association LinkedIn group, I share out all the webinars that are up and that are coming up, and you are welcome to share any of those. And I normally on Instagram, on the WKU Alumni Association Instagram, will do a recap, and there'll be a direct link to the recording there as well.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions?
I have a question. I'm the director of philanthropy and alumni at Big Sandy Community and Technical College across the state. I'm a graduate of WKU. So I'm looking for advice to give brand new college graduates when they're setting up a LinkedIn. So they may not have anyone who can provide a work reference, or this is their first job. Do you have any resources out there that I could share with them?
About how to get a reference?
More about setting up LinkedIn if you've never had a job before. You just graduated in May and you're setting up a LinkedIn account.
I can do a webinar for you if you'd like. I don't know if you're looking for a handout, or I think it would be better to do something interactive where I can pull up a page and show them how to create it.
Yes.
I'm happy to do that for you. Mm-hmm.
That's a new service that we're looking to offer to our students. So
Awesome. I'm happy to help. Everybody else is on.
Can you share that too? Because that would be awesome.
Well, if any of you want me, if you're professors or whatever, if you want me to speak for your group, I'm happy to do that. I don't charge anything. I just do it as a community service because I like to share what I'm passionate about. So I'm happy to, do a Zoom meeting with your class. In fact, I think it's next week, I'm going to do a visit to Kentucky State University and talk about HR. I do that all the time. So, and I visited with Murray State last week on a Zoom call. So I'm happy to do it.
And I think that's one of the things that, for us to take it into the classrooms is probably preferable. Our students don't tend to use our academic counseling services and our career development services until they kind of hit that wall, and it's kind of a last minute thing. So anything that we can do to help you all as a faculty and or staff to provide resources that can be accessible, just one-offs, please reach out. We're happy. We're trying to build that reference library with awesome people like Shelley that have that that experience in the field.
And Jean, I used to teach at IU Southeast. I live near Louisville in Southern Indiana. Sorry, you guys. I'm in a hot room I'm right above the furnace. I used to teach 2 classes at the school. One was sort of career decision making for sophomore year, and then a junior senior class for the business school on interviewing, resumes, LinkedIn, networking, job search, how to dress, professional behaviors, all that sort of thing. So I have my handouts, I have my assignments, I have my slides from teaching those classes, if any of that can help you.
And I'm going to share your information because our College of Business, so finance has had a career readiness class now for probably 7 years, 6, 7 years. And the college itself has decided that all majors should have that kind of class. And so starting in the fall, we're going to have a similar class in all the different majors in the college business. And so I will share your information for those other junior level classes that are going to be starting in the fall.
Happy to help the professors set up the classes, again, share the tools and resources that I have, because I taught it for 12 years. I used to work in the College Career Center at IU Southeast. So then after I left, they had me come back and teach part-time.
Yeah.
So I love teaching those classes.
I appreciate it. And I will spread the word.
You bet. Anybody else? Everybody's on mute. So if you think you're talking out loud, I can't hear you. Nope.
I'm looking at my notes because I had a couple of questions. In number 5, you said 300 plus connections.
Uh-huh.
Is it preferable to have 300 quality connections, or to have 500 with some marginal, with some that are 3rd and 4th and 5th, connections? Does that make sense?
Yes, it absolutely does. Of course, you want quality connections. But if you're looking, maybe you only have 20 connections at this point and you're starting your job search, connect with the Lions if you can, because
Okay.
that builds your network. It makes it look like you've used your page. Quality is always good. Like I said, I tend to connect with people who I share a lot of connections with, because when it says people you may know, it will show you, you share 150 connections or you share 2 connections. I tend to try to connect with people I have quite a few connections in common, because I figure if my connections who I know are connected with this person, they're probably a quality connection, right? So that's how I make the determination whether to connect.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Anybody else have any questions? I think this is a topic that we could really do 5 webinars about. But I think this is a great summary and a way for folks to get their hands and their head around how to effectively use LinkedIn.
If you want me to do a more basic one, like, for people who don't even have a page, I can do that as well.
Okay, all right. But while we have while we have kind of a group here that are interested in, excuse me, in career-related topics, are there any specific needs that you feel like you as a professional, you as an instructor, professor, or your students, what are some things that you feel they need that we might be able to help provide? Any ideas?
I could hop in here.
Sure.
First, thank you, Shelley. That was super helpful. I teach in the English department and I teach our capstone class, which would be, I guess, our equivalent of Jean's career readiness class, except it comes at the end of their time. And one of my students, Mara, is on the call because this is an extra credit opportunity today. So I know some folks couldn't come in the middle of the day and they're going to view the recording. But thank you so much, because you've really helped me think about not just my own underuse of LinkedIn, but also advice that I could give to students. But one of the things that I find in talking with my students and trying to help them prepare for post-WKU life is, especially maybe in the humanities, we are so averse to the idea of networking. Like, my students have a very negative connotation to that term. And so I bring in a ton of alumni who give them alternate ways to network. And that they talk about networking as building relationships and, having friends and not just, shaking hands and trying to extract things from other people.
Exactly.
But I think at least for students in my neck of the woods, anything that we could do to demystify networking and show how it could be an authentic experience, not just trying to get one over on people or try to just pull things out for yourself. I think that would be super beneficial.
Well, I do a program on the art of networking, and a lot of my programs are geared towards students specifically because of my teaching. And because I'm the Kentucky SHRM College Relations Director, so I do programs every other week for students. Tends to be HR students, but it can be for anyone. If you all want to be added to my email list for invitations to those, happy to do it. Share it with your students. Everyone is invited, professionals and students. But back to your question, I do the program on networking, and it's not just about LinkedIn. It's about how to network, how to make those connections in person even. I know we're not back in person fully yet, but a side note, I had a minor in English and I worked in the English department office for all 4 years I was in school and summers. Best job I ever had. I'm telling you.
Could you help us recruit? We're having a hard time getting a new student worker, so we need you to help.
I was a student worker. I loved it. I really mean it. It was the best job I ever had. I love working there. But thanks. Yeah, I'm happy to help. And I'd be happy to come to Western and speak.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I will definitely be sending you an email to get on that list.
Right.
Thanks.
Sure.
I think what our students have, they're required to do a mock interview in this class. And then we have, in the college, we have some HR professionals come in and do other additional mock interviews. But I'm not sure, exactly, they don't know how to handle questions necessarily. And their impression is that it's primarily situational questions now. And then there are questions that I know in finance, they'll ask things just to see how they're thinking.
Yes.
So how many golf balls will fit in a room, or something like that. But I think the hard question is, how much do you want to make? Or, how do you answer a question? Not that you have to answer me, but how would some suggestions on how to handle questions like that would be useful.
Yeah, I have a program on interviewing and answering tough questions, and I have a program on negotiating your salary and benefits.
Oh, good. Yeah.
So I can send you recordings to those. And again, just go ahead. Most of them are within the last year, so they're not old. You can share all of those links with them to the programs. I have one on how to get your resume past the applicant tracking system. So you make
That's
it
a
through the black hole.
And that one is
Yeah,
also
that's a
on
biggie
the
we're
alumni
interested in.
learning.
Yes, I did it
Consortium.
I did
Okay.
it for Western.
Mm-hmm. And the next one, Shelley, what did we talk about? We were going to do one more, maybe?
I thought it was on negotiation.
Negotiation.
That's the one I get requests for the most.
Knowing,
I
kind
do
of
it for
knowing your
open-
worth and your value and what you
Yeah.
bring to the table and how to negotiate.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay, Kelly, I've
Anybody
got your
else? Do
email.
any of our students have any questions?
Don't be shy.
Okay. Is there anything in the chat? I haven't checked it lately.
It just thanks and things like that. And I got Kelly.
adding some
got your
folks. All right, perfect. Well, we always like to start on time and end on time or early. So, Shelley, thank you so much. It's
You're
been
welcome.
amazing and beneficial, I think, to everyone who's here and to our faculty and staff. Thank you so much. I mean, this is exactly what we're trying to do. We're trying to find those places where we can fill those gaps and connect our students to alumni like Shelley who have that experience and are willing to share. You all be watching your email. I'm reaching out to your college communicators on a monthly basis to share all of our webinars that are coming up for the next month. So watch your emails from your college communicators. Hopefully they're sharing those out. And we'd love to have any and all students on either synchronously or asynchronously because some of the topics are quite beneficial to them. So with that being said, I guess we'll say goodbye and thank you and go Tops.
Yay. Bye, everybody.